Thank you for joining the Euroyard, brought to you by a country that is not in the EBU nor in Europe, and please don't ever invite us to this contest, we will ruin it. Eurovision, though, it's fun for the whole world. Why else would I have watched all of the contests? And today in this video, we are going to react to and rescore the songs from the 1965 Eurovision Song Contest. Not to spoil it, but it's been 60 years, so I think I can freely say that Luxembourg was the winner of this contest. I deeply apologize if you didn't know that, but now you know. You were going to find out anyway. So watch to the end to see if we agree with that assessment. If we don't agree with that assessment, where we would have put this and all the other songs in this contest. So we're going to start off this video, as we always do, with some basic facts about the contest. There were 18 countries in this 10th Eurovision Song Contest. This was a milestone, as it was the 10th Eurovision Song Contest ever held. It was also the first time that the contest had been held in Italy, as they won in 1964 and put this contest in Naples as a result. It would be decades before Bella Italia hosted this again, but we will deal with that another time. And actually, fun fact, the person who won in 1964, Giulio Cinquetti, she would host it in 1991. The contest date, it was March 20th. It was a Saturday, and as we stated a few videos prior, all future grand finals will be held on a Saturday from the early 1960s through the present. Some years it just fell on a weekday, and that would never happen now, except for the semifinals. There were 18 countries participating, which set a new record at that point. This is because Sweden came back to the contest after skipping the festivities in 1964, and 1965 would mark the debut of a country that would soon become very consequential in Eurovision history: Ireland. Sweden and Ireland are ironically two of the most dominant winning countries ever, but neither of them was a charter member of the contest. A quick reminder, as we do for many of these reaction videos, of how we score. We just redid this rubric, so there are a lot of changes from the 1964 video. The rankings that we will have do reflect that. A brief overview of our scoring rubric, we'll put it up on the screen for you now, and this is what I would take away from it. We don't just make a value judgment of did I like the song or not. We drill a lot deeper to find the best songs, and a number of criteria are factored into the equation. You're about to see the results from 1965 as this rubric would have had them. But not before we bring back the ESC Deservometer. This is a tool which we've used each of the last few contests to ask the question, did the juries get it right? Or did they overrate or underrate a song? The meter knows all. Last thing before we begin the song review, I promise. Every year we rank our top 10 songs and we hand out points. Our best song gets 2 points, the next song gets 10, then 8, then 7 through 1, the system that you all know and love. We add them all up at the end of the contest, and then we give you the scoreboard. We show you which country is in front. Now, we rescored everything from 1956 up to this point. So, if you watched the 1964 video, you would see slightly different scores than what we're about to put up on the screen. These are new scores for each country based on the 2025 scoring system. There's an article at theeuroyard.com which has all of the changes, so if this looks very different to you than what you saw in the 1964 video, that's why. Okay, we're done. Let's get to the music. Our 18th place song was Monaco, and I will apologize in advance to Monaco because this is the 3rd year in a row that we really have not liked your song. However, at least what you have going for you is that the juries thought it was decent. Their song in 1965 was Va dire à l'amour by Marjorie Noel, and the title means Go Tell Love. It came in 9th place. While we had it all the way down at the bottom, there were numerous scoring rubrics that we've had throughout the years, and they all pretty much came up with the same thing. So unfortunately, we just didn't really like this one that much. I didn't find it particularly interesting, and while the vocals weren't really that bad or anything like that, it was kind of uncompelling. It was kind of forgettable. And we're going to light up the ESC Deservometer for the first time, and we will classify this not as very overrated, but a little overrated. Moving right along, in 17th place, we had France, and this is a major disagreement with the juries. The song here was N'avoue jamais, or Never Confess, by Guy Mardel. This came in 3rd, so it kind of tracks where Monaco did for us in the previous few contests, finishing low on the scorecard. France is going to have a rebound in the next few contests, I can promise you that. Now, Guy Mardell, he gave off some, I guess I'll call it Neil Diamond energy. At least that's what it felt like to me. It could have also been Jerry Seinfeld energy. I'm not really sure. But I found it mildly irritating, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think the song has aged particularly well over the decades. The vocals were just average. The repetitiveness got a little old. So it should be no surprise that when we light up the ESC Deservometer for this song, that we will call this one very overrated. Moving on to 16th, we have Poor Germany again, down near the bottom. And that song is Paradies wo bist du by Ulla Wiesner, which means Paradise, Where Are You? I think I just wanted a lot more from her in general. Lyrically, the song was kind of weak. It was one of the more dull numbers for sure in this contest. But as for the singer, I didn't give her great marks for vocals either. There just wasn't a whole lot about it that I found favorable. And evidently that was the conventional wisdom because it finished in a last place tie. So when we go to the ESC Deservometer, we think that the jury's got this one just about right. In 15th, we had Belgium and their Dutch language song, Als het weer lente is, which means When It's Spring Again by Lisa Marca. Like with a number of songs you'll see down near the bottom, this one was boring. She actually sang better than average according to our score sheet, so she's got that going for her, but she really needed to move on from this past lover. And even if she had, I'm not sure it would have made this song any better. This song finished in a last place tie, so unfortunately the ESC Deservometer right over here will agree with the decision of the juries that they got it about right. On to the 14th place song. This was Switzerland. The song was performed by Giovanna, and it was called Non à jamais sans toi. It translates to No Forever Without You. Had we stuck with the prior rubric, this actually would have come in 11th. We have it down in 14th here in this scoring system. So the major points that worked against it were that in terms of originality, I felt like I have heard this song before. It didn't really break any new ground for me. In so doing, it just didn't really capture my interest. I think the singer actually, she did what she could have with it, but the song as a whole was just really too unremarkable for me. It found a bit more favor with the juries, however, landing at 8th place, but when we fire up the ESC Deservometer, we'll say that this one was a little bit overrated. In 13th, we go to see Denmark and their song For din Skyld by Birgit Bruel, and that title means For Your Sake. I think she sang relatively well in this, but it was a really dull composition, unfortunately. In fact, it was one of the most dull songs that we scored in the entire contest this year. It's the kind of song that you forget as soon as she's done singing it, and I hate to inform you, but I did. What put this up in 13th place as opposed to lower and not plumbing the depths like Monaco or France this year is that I thought she sang okay, but it was equally as boring. The juries liked this a little better than we did, putting it at 7th place. So on the ESC Deservometer, we are prepared to pass judgment and say, unfortunately, this one was a little overrated as well. Up to 12th place, it's Spain's entry, Conchita Bautista's song, Que Bueno, Que Bueno. Of course, that means how good, how good. She made her second and final Eurovision appearance here. Now, previously, in the last few videos we had done, we've been talking about we haven't given Spain any points yet. We haven't given Spain any points yet. Well, when we rescored everything, Spain suddenly has points now. Not from this song, however, unfortunately. What I could appreciate about this song is that it brought a certain ethnic flair to the music. And her songs, at least the two that she did at Eurovision, they had a distinct Spanish character to them. I wasn't taken with the song as a whole, but I did find the performance to be fairly lively, which did bring it up a few points anyway on the score sheet. As a whole, that really is not a bad place to be, being one of the more lively songs in this group of songs. The ESC Deservometer thinks that the jury's actually underrated this one a bit because it finished in a last place tie, and I have to say, there is something painfully ironic about a song called que bueno, how good, finishing in last. Now to 11th place, just missing the points that the top 10 will provide. This song provides the answer to a Eurovision trivia question. The answer is Absent Friend by Ingvar Vixel. The question is, what was the first Eurovision song to be performed in a non-native language? Because, of course, Absent Friend, this song was performed in English. The native language rules were more strictly enforced after this. Of course, they would go away for a little bit in the 70s, come back, and then by the end of the 90s, they were gone for good. But this was the first one to do it. Vixel was an opera singer, and so obviously he crushed the vocal categories. We'll get to that later. But the song bombed in every other way. It just didn't work. Eurovision was already, at this point, 1965, starting to outgrow that quote-unquote night at the opera phase that it seemed to have at times. I mean, with the notable exception of the fact that in 2025, a pretty operatic song won the contest. So good job, JJ. Anything is possible. But this one just didn't really seem to land at all, and it didn't land in 1965 either. He finished in 10th place on the night, so when we bring back the ESC Deservometer, I think we can fairly say that this one finished just about right. Now we get into the point scoring. In 10th place at one point, it was Carousel by Kirsty Sparbo of Norway. I don't think it's necessary to translate this title. I think you can figure out what it means if you speak English. So here's the thing with this song. I was willing to overlook how grating it was because at the end of the day, it was kind of cute. It had some tempo. She did a fine job singing it. It wasn't my favorite, but I gave it a lot more credit than the juries did, and I think I can see why they didn't rate it as high, because it was a bit irritating. However, the musical composition, it was nice, actually, and the orchestra break in the middle of the song, it was very pleasant. So even though the song is about going out with two guys at the same time, look it up, I did think that it justified getting some points. So 10th from us, 13th from the juries. The ESC Deservometer will say that it was about right, but very close to being a little underrated. 9th place, 2 points is Finland. Aurinko laskee länteen, or The Sun Sets in the West by Victor Klemenko. Put a top hat on him, and he's Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States. Anyway, I liked his singing, and even though he did use the sun as a motif to tell his story, you read through the lyrics and they're pretty basic, pretty unremarkable. Anyway, I still thought it was okay and average overall when you balance everything together. The juries hated it. They really stuck it to him. They put him in that last place tie, but our ESC Deservometer will set this straight and say that Finland deserved a little bit better in 1965. In 8th place, getting 3 points, is Ireland's debut song, I'm Walking the Streets in the Rain by Butch Moore. He sang well. A lot of people did in this contest. Some didn't, but a lot of people did. And our average vocal score was fairly high. Again, we will get to the vocals a little bit later. I thought this song was maybe a little bit better than the average composition in this contest. Again, that's something else we will get to later. My problem why I didn't have it higher than 8th is that I did find it kind of dull. In fact, in that regard, it got the lowest engagement score of any song in the 1965 contest. So you can see why it was held back. Sure, he did make good eye contact with the camera, and maybe someone out there as a result of that will feel that they connected to the performance better. I did not. The tempo was just really, really slow. Give him credit for his personal efforts, but I would have probably preferred that he sing almost anything else, really. Now, Ireland finished 6th in this, their first contest. We had him at 8th, so it shouldn't really come as any surprise that the ESC Deservometer would have this one just about right. We put the host country, Italy, in 7th place with Bobby's solo song, Se piangi se ridi, which means if you cry, if you laugh. I got the feeling, as I'm sure a lot of you would if you watched this, that he was very, very much trying to be the Italian Elvis. The song itself was okay, maybe a little understated, but I think, and maybe you can just blame the audio recording of the time, with his diction and his style, I couldn't really make out every word he was saying. However, I do think that the composition was actually above average. It was a little bit more on the unique side. We had it 7th, the juries had it 5th. And this was actually a borderline case for us with the ESC Deservometer. We'll say that it finished just about right. Although I don't necessarily think that this was worthy of the top 5, but we were only 2 spots off, so we're not really going to quibble that much. Getting 5 points in 6th place, it was Portugal in Simone de Oliveira's song Sol de Inverno, or Winter Sun. Sure, it was kind of slow, and most of the time the kind of song that would put you to sleep. But her singing voice would actually wake me back up. She is a very good singer. Where this song also excelled was in the lyrics, which were beautiful. I'm going to actually read you one of the passages from the song just to show you how good of a composition this was. One passage goes, "I gave everything in life in exchange for nothing. Defeated flag, torn in the ground. I'm the forgotten date, the lost thing that goes on auction." Hey, I mean, they can't all be happy songs, am I right? But while we thought this was a decent effort, the juries didn't. They put this song in 13th. So we consulted the ESC Deservometer, and it said that this song deserved a lot better than the fate it received. In 5th place, now moving into the top 5, a returnee from Austria receives 6 points. He'll win it next year, so don't feel too bad for him. That, of course, is Udo Jürgens. His song this year was Sagir, Ich lasse Sie grüßen, which means tell her I send my regards. Udo was a pioneer of the piano on stage during his performances at Eurovision. He did it in 1964, he did it again this year in 1965, and he will do it again in 1966 with much better results. With that said, I actually think that this song was the weakest of his 3 entries. Even at that, it was still a good song, just not necessarily up to the level of the other 2. It was well written, it had a nice composition, Udo's a good singer. He was a great composer of music, and I think that showed actually in all 3 of the songs that he did at the contest. Now, there was a certain repetitiveness in the lyrics, kind of like in that French song, but I think it was executed a little better in that it was less obvious. Austria came in 4th with the juries and 5th with us, so the ESC Deservometer is going to agree that the juries got this one about right. Now up to 4th, if you looked at the score sheet, there was a big jump up in scores to get to Yugoslavia in 4th place, 7 points. Performing was returnee Vice Vukov, and he sang Čežnja, which is Croatian for longing. I consider Vukov one of the better vocalists that this era of the contest produced. He didn't get a lot of credit for it, but I certainly took note of it. This was, of course, his second and final appearance at Eurovision. What drove my impression of this song was his singing ability and the fact that it was backed up with a really nice melody, actually. A touch dull, perhaps, but that was almost negated by the fact that he just sang really, really well. The juries did drop the ball here on this one, putting Yugoslavia in 12th, and the ESC Deservometer's finding that the song in question deserved much better. When you get into the top 3, you'll find the Netherlands and Connie van den Bos's song Het is genoeg, which means it is enough. This is a catchy song and very creative from a compositional standpoint for its day. It had a totally different vibe from every other song in the contest this year. And not only did it have a totally different vibe from every song in 1965, it had a totally different vibe from every other song to this point. She served as something unique as she sings. She's telling us about that lover that she had, and the games were just enough for her. This is not the first Dutch entry about being cheated on, by the way, but you want to look at something that's iconic about this song, the opening to this song. It is one of the best openings to a Eurovision song that I had heard up until this point, if not the best. Now, what did hold it back from going higher than 3rd was the vocals. I don't think the vocals were that great. They certainly weren't up to the par of some of the other performers in the contest. However, the juries really just sandbagged this song. They put it in 11th. And based on my appreciation for it and how captivating and how different I thought the song was, the ESC Deservometer has decreed this song was well ahead of its time, and it deserved much better. Just 2 songs left, and in second we have the United Kingdom. This is Kathy Kirby's song, I Belong. In 2024, we had this as a Euroyard Top 100 song. We're going through the 2025 list, and it may be up there, may not. You'll just have to find out. But it's going to end up doing pretty well at the end of the day. This was one of the more energetic songs of the contest, and it was considered by some going into the 1965 contest to be the favorite. Now, Kirby, she sang with a lot of excitement and purpose in this song. The UK was looking for, but unfortunately for them, did not get their first win, but that doesn't take away from her achievement here. Kirby's song was very lively, and it was really one of the more lively Eurovision songs of its era. The juries also put this one in second place, as did we, so it really shouldn't come as any surprise that the ESC Deservometer would say that the juries got this one right. Now, we've gone through 17 countries, and that leaves just one, and that is Luxembourg to receive our 12 points. This is also from 2024 a Euroyard Top 100 song, the iconic Poupée de Cire, Poupée de Song by Franz Gall. This translates to wax doll, rag doll. And by the way, in the context of this song, she's the doll. There's a lot to unpack usually from Serge Gainsbourg's lyrics, but you can take away that she was a young woman singing about a heavy topic like love and getting batted around by it and not understanding it. Indeed, the lyrics are controversial. Even so, taking the composition as something quite innovative for its time, the score was probably the song's most memorable element. This song had a lot of energy, and even in 2025, when we make this video, the fun nature of this song still carries through to the present day. Side note, as some of you may know, Luxembourg's entry in 2025 La Poupée monte le sang was a direct homage to this song. So that just shows you the staying power that this song still has 60 years later. Now, I will be honest, I did not love the vocals. In fact, I gave this song the lowest vocal score that I gave any of the 18 entries this year. Everything else made up for it, however. Of course, this song won Eurovision in 1965. We had it first, the Deservometer says. They got it right. So now on to the awards segment, where we're going to break down our top scores in the major categories and show you how we ranked each one. Now, as the contest has grown in prior videos, we used to just show our top 3, but moving forward, we now have 18 countries soon to go into the 20s, then the 30s, then the 40s. We're now going to do a top 5, at least until we grow it even further. So we're going to start with overall impression. This was our category for really whether or not we like the song. We have a couple of subcategories there, but in 5th place we had Yugoslavia for our best overall impression, and then 4th was Udo Jürgens in Austria. In 3rd place was the UK, 2nd was actually the Netherlands, and 1st place was winning Luxembourg. As for engagement, as in how engaging or dull we found a song to be, in 5th we had Norway, then followed by the United Kingdom and Kathy Kirby. In 3rd place, we had Spain, Conchita Bautista, followed by a tie at the top between Luxembourg and the Netherlands. In our combined vocals categories, this is both general impression and technique of the vocals. 5th place went to Ireland here in Butch Moore. 4th place, surprisingly, we had Finland. Sweden, not my favorite song, but they did come in 3rd in the vocals category. He should at least get credit for that. Then in 2nd place, we have Vice Vukov in Yugoslavia. And then in 1st place in this category, we had the United Kingdom and Kathy Kirby. Finally, we combined the scores for our composition and lyrics categories, and in 5th, to my surprise, actually was Norway, just squeaking ahead of Austria, who were in 6th. 4th place was the United Kingdom. 3rd place was a very nice song by Portugal. Then a familiar sight, Luxembourg is in 1st, and the Netherlands is in 2nd. Now for the end notes, as we're about to tie a bow on this 1965 contest. Luxembourg got its 2nd win at Eurovision. They're still behind France, who has 3. Although, Franz Gall is actually French. So, like the majority of Luxembourgish winners in this contest, maybe this also counts for like a half win for them. I'm kidding. Please don't write to me about it. I don't want that. I would say that this was an interesting contest. It definitely gave us a few memorable songs that are still notable to this day in Eurovision history 6 decades later. So, that could speak to its staying power a little bit. Now, not unlike most contests from this era, the stage setup was fairly unremarkable. We're still kind of in that first era of Eurovision staging where they're not really putting a ton of effort into it. The hosting was also okay, but also unremarkable. The music was fairly remarkable, but just about everything else about the 1965 contest was kind of average. Now, finally, we are going to update the Euroyard's all-time scoreboard for 1965, putting it on the sidebars for the first time. Italy has moved beyond Switzerland again into first place. But look at the UK. They're starting to catch up fast here. They're at 71 points, just 9 behind the mark to beat. Now, you drop quite a bit to get to France in 4th place, but hey, almost everybody is on the board. Even Ireland has 3 points from their first Eurovision outing. That is 10 Eurovision Song Contests that we have now reviewed for the 11th and beyond. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, visit theeuroyard.com, and subscribe to us at Blue Sky at theeuroyard.com.